What's poppin', my soul squad? You're tuned in to Saving One Soul at a Time podcast, where we focus on healing and mental awareness for real people in the real world. Anybody that knows me knows that people is my passion. So I intend to use this platform to save as many souls as possible. But in order for me to save any soul, I have to be able to tell you how I was saved. So without further ado, here's episode 1. Your girl, your host, Blaccangel. I was originally raised in Garden City, Kansas. I have 2 brothers, an older one and a younger one. We relocated to actual Texas when I was 3 years old. So it seems like that's where I'm originally from, but I was actually born in Kansas. As I was growing up, I always wanted to be a doctor, or more sort of something that helped people. I was raised by my mom, my grandmother, and my aunt. My mom actually wanted more opportunities and more growth. So we ended up leaving Waco and ended up moving to Dallas, Texas. Before we moved to Dallas, my mom moved first, and she wanted to get everything prepared for us to get there. Well, in the process, I stayed with my aunt during that time, but at that time, I also was going through growing pains, and I was also, I was 14 years old, a teenager just going through growing pains, so I became rebellious to my aunt. So I called myself being grown, ended up running away, and the boyfriend that I had at the time, we ended up having sex, and I ended up getting pregnant. At the time, I didn't know I was pregnant. So now my mom then had to rush down back to Waco to come get me, because, it was too much for my aunt. I was stressing my aunt out. So I moved to Dallas. That's when I ended up going my 9th grade year to David W. Carter. I was the new girl. I was new girl from a whole different city. I had just moved into the hood, Oak Cliff. What's so funny is I thought before I even moved to Dallas that Oak Cliff was the most scariest place, but I ended up moving straight in the center of Oak Cliff. And, life was different. Dallas was way too fast. Coming from Waco, this little country town, and moving to the city that big, it was way too much. So basically, when I came, I went to Carter, and I ended up telling everybody I was a virgin. So time went on. I continued to keep having my cycle. So like I said, once again, I didn't know I was pregnant. So I continued to have my cycle. Although I was having my cycles, I end up start having sore breasts and started just having different feelings to my body. I ended up going to the doctor, found out I was 21 weeks pregnant. So bam, now I'm pregnant with a whole baby at 14. The decision was either abort or adoption. Abortion at that time was way too much because I was way too far along. And then adoption was just way too depressing. I ended up becoming very depressed. And I had to make a decision on adoption or keeping my baby. So as time went on, once again, I'm depressed, couldn't do nothing but cry. I was just so distraught, and I didn't think that what me and my boyfriend did at the time was anything serious because it seemed like it was so fast. It didn't seem like, I didn't feel like I was penetrated. I just didn't feel like it was nothing. So that most definitely took me very fast to know that I was pregnant when I went to the doctor. So I ended up making the decision to have my baby. And the reason why I did that was because my aunt just finally, my oldest aunt, I got 3 aunts. My oldest aunt just basically stated that, if you want to keep your baby, we'll help you. And at that time, I thought that was going to give me a release and stop the depression and stop the feeling, but it didn't. I still had postpartum blues, but I went along with it, and I ended up keeping my baby. My first time out of me going to the doctor in February, that one time when I found that I was pregnant was June 6th of 2000, and I ended up having my daughter June 26th of 2000. So typically I had only been to the doctor 2 times. My baby came out 7 pounds, 11 ounces. And from there, that was the changing point of my life at 14. I'm thinking that when I made that decision, I had my baby, that everything was going to be okay. I wasn't going to, feel regretful. I wasn't going to feel bad. I was going to be good. Well, unfortunately, the postpartum blues got worse. I ended up having postpartum blues 6 months after having my baby. I ended up having it for 6 months, and it was not like postpartum. It was suicidal postpartum. I was just so overwhelmed. I thought my life was over. I was 14 with a whole baby, didn't know what to do. Like, everything just instantly changed for me. So all I knew at that point was to go to the feet, and I mean by going to the feet of God. My grandmother kept me into church when I was younger, kept me in vacation Bible school, just kept me connected to the word. So although I didn't understand the word, I knew the word. So all I could do was just go down to the feet, and I started praying, and I just told God how I wanted to be a strong woman of God. And I just wanted to be a good mother to my child and a good woman, overall, as the woman that he created me to be. And from there, my life transformed. I don't know how. So luckily, before I started being rebellious, my auntie had started teaching me how to braid. I don't know what happened, but God, that Holy Spirit kicked in, and I just went into hustle mode. I started learning how to braid on my brother hair and my mama hair, and I went from there, and I just took over. So I ended up taking over the city with braids. I used to do everybody hair. I used to do it nonstop. Like, I was the braider. Like, that's what I was known for. I even had braids that what people used to call TT braids. But, that was where I realized, even though I was still so young, how God was moving in my life for me. So I continued to go to high school. I got myself together. Unfortunately, 2 years later, I ended up getting pregnant again. And I had to have an abortion. Like, I was not going to be the one to have a child I feel at that time that I didn't want to be another fatherless child. I didn't want to have to go through being another single parent. So I feel like the best decision at that time was to abort the baby. So I did have an abortion 2 years later of when I had Brianna. So basically from there, I graduated high school. I stayed hustling. All I did was hustle. All I did was hustle. Like, God provided. I didn't have to never work. I had maybe one job in my life, and it wasn't even really a job. It was just me doing something. But typically I didn't even have to work, because all I did was braid hair. So around 2008, when the recession had supposedly hit, which it did hit, because that's when I started having thoughts about, let me get me a job, let me get invested into the business world, let me get into the real world. Let me rewind back. So in the process of me hustling and just growing up, I was a good mother to my child. Did I make some mistakes? I made a whole lot of mistakes. But I did what I could, the best that I can do. I was proud that I graduated. I was proud that right after I graduated, I was able to move. Me and my best friend became roommates. Like, I was the woman that I had been praying when I went at the age of 14 to the feet to be. I was already becoming that woman, but I was so young. So in that process, though, at 2007, I was dating this dude, and he lived. Not only did I know the life and I lived in that life, he lived in that life. So at that time, nothing was wrong with that life, the street life. That's what I admired at that time, because that's all I knew from my father's brothers, the people around me. That's all I knew. So I was dating the street guy. We ended up moving together, and being one as we thought. And then basically I ended up getting robbed gunpoint August of 2007. And at that moment, that was another transition of my life. I was officially 21 years old, and I had to go through that transition, another transformation of my life, of me realizing the matter of life and death. I had to go through that 14 with my baby, and then 2007, I had to go through that when I got robbed at gunpoint. Me, my daughter, and another friend of mine. We got robbed at gunpoint. So prior to us getting robbed at gunpoint, my dude was actually having a dice game at the actual house. So we knew it was an inside league, because when the dudes came to, draw down on us, because they had just left They asked where the money was, where everything was. There was nothing there. There was a little bit of money there, but it wasn't no money like that. So make a long story short, they robbed us. They took all our stuff. That was a transformation time of my life as far as becoming a actual adult. So from there, I got even closer to God. Although I had been, chasing and chasing him and praying, like 21 was another pivot in my life where I became closer to God. So now it's 2008 and I'm like, okay, I need a change. I need to be able to grow professionally. I need to be able to grow bigger than just the hood, just where I was at. So 2008 started getting me open-minded. I started talking about work, looking and things of that nature. With 2010, I ended up coming up on the job that I've been at now for 13 years. And I'm forever grateful for being able to come up on this opportunity, because the opportunity has been able to present itself for me to be able to live life, grow professionally, grow physically, emotionally, spiritually. It has allowed me to grow in several ways, not knowing that when I took on to getting this job that it was going to grow me in this many ways. So that was another pivot in my life. So from 2007 to 2010, I went through the growing pains of, should I stay doing her and not work, or should I now start investing in myself and investing in growth and generational wealth by seeking outside of just doing her? And not to say that I couldn't have did that, but at that point of time, I feel like that was best for my life. I needed to know more than just what I knew. Like, I knew the streets. I got common sense, to God be the glory for both of those. But in reference to knowing the real literal world, the literal understanding of the culture, the world, politics, generational wealth, things of that nature, that's something that's not in our regular realm when you born up in the society of poverty. That's just not something that was taught to us. So I wanted more. I wanted to be the one to change the things for my family and change the way that people look at life, or change the way that people look at people that have been through poverty. So I ended up changing my life. 2010 getting a job, and then 2012 I was still in 2010, and between 2012 I was still in the same relationship, even though I had got robbed, got put at gunpoint, didn't know if that was gonna be my last day or not. I still ended up staying with this dude, and from there to up until 2012, until I finally left, which I couldn't just take no more. I finally left, and I haven't looked back. And so 2012, when I left, I went through a whole different another phase of my life. In 2012, I was 26 at that time. Like, my life was changing so fast. I had did decisions that made my life change fast. And then it was already part of God's plan of what he had for me that made my life move so fast. So at 26, I'm getting out of a relationship that I've been with in 9 years. I'm single now. Now I done went through all other type of growing pains. I became vulnerable to other type of things at the time. And my whole life went for a whole nother spin. And it's just amazing, y'all, like how in order to literally be able to understand people, you have to go through it. There's I would say 5 to 10% of people in this world that don't have to go through everything to literally to be able to help another soul. But for the most part, in order to be able to save another soul, you have to be able to endure all or half of the things that the world has put already upon us. So make a long story short, I got into messing with people I shouldn't have messed with. I ended up messing with this girl. I ended up messing with this dude. Like, my whole life was just, I didn't even know who I was at 26. I didn't even know where I was going, what I was doing. I just finally let go, and I said, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I just said, I'm fit to go celibacy. I'm fit to be single. I'm not fit to worry about no relationship. I'm just fit to focus on me. And that could have been the best decision of my life. Of my life. So I started practicing celibacy 2014. And I was celibate all the way up until 2020, 2020. I was celibate. So from 2014 up until 2020, I practiced this celibacy. I wouldn't. I've been at encounters where could have had sex, but I didn't let it go through. I also was faced with different things that at the time my flesh was desiring, but it was not what was good for me. So I continued to practice my celibacy. My job ended up coming up with an opportunity to be able to relocate to Arizona. At this time, 2016, I ended up losing my best friend. And when I lost him, my life had went for another change, which brought me to the point of where the relocating to Arizona came about. I couldn't fathom the things that was going on. I didn't understand a lot of things that was going on. Once again, my world felt like it was shutting down again. So I had to end up I went immediately into fasting to get to the point of being able to see if Arizona was the best decision of me relocating, for better opportunity. And like I said, for more, spiritual, physical, financial growth. And I fast. And when I fast, all I can see if I stayed in Dallas was darkness. I didn't see nothing. I didn't see me growing. I didn't see nothing. It seemed that I was stuck. All I kept seeing when he would pray and show me, God would show me, all I can see me being stuck. But when I would see Arizona, all I can see is sunshine. All I can see is generational wealth. All I can see was opportunities, growth. I just seen the sun. And I'm telling the things that he was whispering in my ear of what was going to be taking place of this light that I was seeing. So I just stepped out on faith, 2017 of May, and I moved to Arizona. And that was another best decision of my life. And I cannot believe I did it. I left my whole family behind. And if you know me, you know I'm close to my family. I'm close to my friends. I'm close to everybody God put in my life for a reason. I'm close to them. So moving from Texas like that was big. Like my first year was difficult, but God put those people here for me to be able to get adapted to it. And it's been history. It's been history. I got here. I got to Arizona. I ended up I was an agent when I first came to Arizona. My goal was to become a manager when I came. So when I first got to Arizona, I was an agent. I ended up being an agent for 8 months before they started this new program and this new process called team leads, where you was the next level of being a manager. You'll go to team lead to get that training, then become a manager. I started that program, being in that program for 1 month, and ended up getting promoted to a manager. And the rest is history. So here I am. I was one manager for 6 months, ended up getting promoted again 6 months later to another manager, and then ended up getting promoted again 6 months later to be another manager, which is one of the top managers of the company. And I say this to say that the bag is already made. What's for you is for you. It's the actual changes in the trials and the tribulations that you go through life that's either going to make you or break you. And I am so thankful for where I am today. But I will be lying if I tell you that it wasn't discouraging, overwhelming, so much anxiety, so much pain, so much work to fight against my flesh that I still got to fight against every day to continue to produce the woman that I prayed to be when I was 14. So I'm here today giving you all of me. And this is, even though I broke it down, it's not even how, it's not compared to how much that I'm going to be able to give and expose and all the things that I went through, because it's just a minor breakdown of my lifespan. I still have so much living to go, and I have so many things to discuss that I have not discussed because it's not the time for that. It's a time and place for everything. And this is where I'm at. And I'm in another pivot of my life that I was not expecting to be at so soon. Losing my brother, my youngest brother, has taught me a lot about life and death. And I'm praying for anyone or anybody who has had to endure losing someone so close. The pain you have to go through. So I'm not here to give validation. I'm not here for popularity. I'm here strictly for healing and mental awareness. It's real. And I'm thankful that I have God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit all in me to be able to be transparent with all of you, because we all need someone to save us. We are walking vessels, and we need to know our inner power so we can make sure that we're using it correctly when we're giving out this energy into the world. So I am so excited about this podcast, and I'm so excited about the things that God is about to do in my life and the people He just allowed me to be able to touch and to connect with this podcast. So if you're not tuned in, you better get tuned in, because this fits to be lit. It's going to be joy. It's going to be tears. It's going to be convictions. It's going to be forgiveness. It's going to be phenomenal. The feeling is going to be amazing. But you got to be able to want to heal. And if that's what you want, I'm the girl for the mission. So I see y'all back on next episode. I want y'all to drop comments in the boxes. Let me know how you feel. Tell me what you want to know. Some of the topics you want to discuss. That's what I'm here for. Let's get to it. Let's talk about it. So I see y'all on Saving One Soul at a Time next week. And I can't wait. It's about to get real hot up in here. Until then, I see you later. Bye.